What is up, YouTube? Slap on your rainbow badge because it is time to take a look at the Erika deck, which will be from Celadon City, which is a grass-type badge for those of you who are just too young to know or remember. And that's going to make us focus on Vileplume, her signature Pokemon. And the Vileplume we're going to be using is the one from Ancient Origins with its irritating pollen. We're going to try to get it out as soon as possible with Forest of Giant Plants and try to get its irritating pollen going so that our opponents can't play any item cards. Of course, neither can we, but we're building our deck around that premise, so it's not going to hurt us nearly as much as them. So, Vileplume times 3, because we got to try to draw into it and get it on our bench as soon as possible. So we're running 3 Glooms as well, and we're running 3 Oddishes. And our main win condition is going to be Shiftry from Flashfire. This guy sports Leaf Draw, which is very nice because it allows us to discard a grass energy in order to draw 3 cards, meaning we can kind of get around our lack of items and still kind of go through our deck with that ability, which is very nice. And his Deranged Dance for 1 grass and 2 colorless, which means with double colorless energy, that's only 2 turns to power up, deals 20 damage times the number of benched Pokemon on both sides. So this guy can actually start going for Okos really quickly if we can fill up our bench, which is something we plan to do. And of course he likes Forest of Giant Plants quite a lot as well. And to power him up and get him out consistently, we're also running 3 Nuzleaf and 3 Seedot. And Seedot also has Call for Family, which can get us basic Pokemon to fill up our bench as well. So if he ends up being our lead Pokemon and we don't evolve him, or we kind of want to evolve on our bench or whatever, this could help stock up our bench. So he's a very nice Pokemon, actually, worthy of note. Supporting those Pokemon, we also have 2 Shaman EX, a very good Pokemon to go get because he draws you cards, and of course he's, not an item which allows you to draw cards, and he also occupies space on your bench, which while that's normally a negative, in this deck it's actually a positive. And we do run 1 more basic Pokemon, just to kind of give us another basic Pokemon, even though our Pokemon count's a little high in this deck. And that's 1 copy of Miltank. It could be a nice thing to kind of go search for because of its powerful Friends attack, which cheaply and efficiently in a deck with lots of stage 2s allows us to hit pretty hard. So that's our Pokemon lineup. And because we're not going to run a lot of items, we're going to rely much more heavily on our supporters, not necessarily on Versus Seekering them, since Versus Seeker is an item. We're going to run 4 Sycamores. We're going to run 2 Professor Birch's Observations. We're going to run 2 Pokemon Fan Club, because this will allow us to stock up our bench. And we're not running Bridget, strictly because this will allow us to go get an EX or a basic all at the same time, whereas Bridget makes you choose. And what's nice about that is it can get you the basic Pokemon you need most, and then that Shaman EX on top of it, which will draw you cards and almost surely get you another basic Pokemon in the process, one way or another anyway. So I am opting for Fan Club. You can go for Bridget yourself, but I feel like the flexibility of this card will pay off in the long run in more scenarios than not. So that's how I'm volunteering anyway. And we're running 2 teammates, largely because, once again, since we don't have access to items, we can't rely on Versus Seeker. And Pokemon getting knocked out here is not that unlikely necessarily, and we want to be ready to capitalize on it when it does happen to maintain our lock. So we are running 2 for that. And speaking of things we don't normally run 2 of, we're also running 2 Lysanders because this can be an excellent way to prey on things like Shaman. Your opponent is very likely to want to play against you, and have Shiftry just pop it instantaneously for easy prizes. And of course you can also use this to derail things your opponent's trying to power up on their bench. And our final supporter, we are running 1 copy of Fisherman. We have a limited number of basic energies, and especially with Shiftry trying to discard them, it'll be nice to have a way to bring them all back. And number 1, power up our Pokemon again, despite pitching energies out of our hand, but also just to repower Shiftry again, so that he can keep discarding grass energies to keep drawing you cards. So it's all good there for that reason. As far as our not supporters, we are running 4 copies of Forest of Giant Plants to make sure we get that off as reliably as possible. And we're also running 4 Ultra Ball. Of course, this won't work once we get Vileplume up, but the idea is to hit this and play as many of them as we can in the early game to make sure that we get up to Vileplume. Since both of our stage 2s are too big for Level Ball, we're using Ultra Balls to make sure that we get there. Play out as many as you can before you actually evolve into your Vileplume and turn on its irritating pollen. And that way, hopefully, you'll be able to get both your stage 2 lines up and up reliably. And of course, these can also get you your Shaman, which, yeah, that never hurts. Now, despite our Vileplume, we are running 2 Versus Seeker, and feel free to fire these as soon as you get them to retrieve supporters you might have been forced to discard on your first turn. But even late game, if something does happen to Vileplume, then these are nice options to have hanging around in your hand. We're not running too many so they don't stack up in our hand when Vileplume is up, which hopefully is most of the time. But like I say, early in the game, if you have to discard a supporter, and before you turn on your Vileplume, you can just go ahead and Versus Seeker, retrieve that, and then you can put up your Vileplume, and that way you won't have lost that supporter, essentially. And speaking of the first turn, we are running 1 copy of Town Map. That way we can cherry pick the right prizes to keep our situation ideal. In this deck, that's pretty important since we only have 3 of every Pokemon that's part of our stage 2 lines, and to make sure we can consistently keep everything going, we want to fire this on turn 1 so that when we take prizes, we take things that will maintain sort of that guarantee of our ideal board control situation. We're also running 1 Sacred Ash, just because early game you may be forced to Sycamore Ultra Ball away a lot of pokes, and this can put them back in your deck, which is very important. Once again, this is one of those before you Vileplume kind of things, but late in the game it can be useful under the right circumstances as well. And another one we can slap down quickly, we are running 2 copies of Muscle Band. This can be nice for us especially, so don't be afraid to slap this on your Miltanks and or Shiftries or Shiftries to be. Just play them out as quickly as possible, obviously, before you get your Vileplume up, and that way you can kind of squeeze a little extra damage out, which is nice, and that can make a big difference in the long haul. And finally, as our energy, we're running 4 copies of Double Colorless Energy, because Shiftry just loves them, and yeah, it doesn't hurt for Miltank either. And we are also running 8 Grass Energies, which should be enough for the way our deck is built. And that is the deck, actually. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. My link is below if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.